NFL season just over a month away. We got the top 10 receivers, NFL preseason, Mets, Phillies updates. Let's get into it.
Oh my God! I'm embarrassed! He's flying!
Welcome in. It's almost time.
Welcome back, everybody. We got Rivals, and we are live together for the first time. Beautiful day in State College, I must say. We're going to get into some predictions. Maybe the Penn State makes the playoffs this year. They're very hyped up. We'll get into that a bit later on. But for right now, we got top 10 wide receivers in the NFL. Please keep commenting. Tom, we see you. Justin Kotler, we be seeing you as well. Keep commenting your thoughts and opinions, and we don't mind the trash talk. We don't mind it at all. So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's start off with our sponsor for today's show. We want to give a shout out to FanUp.
Yes, we do.
FanUp is the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily MLB and NFL contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Use promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points. That's a $50 value. FanUp in the App Store. Like Luke said, we got top 10 receivers for today. Love to hear your thoughts in the comments, whether you agree or disagree. I think it's pretty straightforward with my list, but Luke and I are definitely going to agree and disagree as we always do. But let's get into it. So
let's go to the poll first. Let's reach up to our poll. The Eagles have 2 top 10 receivers in the NFL. When I came up with the poll question before I really went through my list. And at first I was saying to myself, well, it's very possible that we could end up with 2 Eagles in the top 10. When I think of talent and I think of potential, I think it's very possible that maybe we can get to that point. But then I actually went through my list and I did it. I don't have 2 Eagles in the top 10, but I do have I have AJ obviously in the top 10, spoiler alert, but Devonta is a honorable mention, and again, somebody that could potentially get to that point. Maybe not now, maybe not this season, but I believe he's a top 10 talent. And I also think that there are guys who I have as honorable mentions that are top 10 talents. I just can't put them ahead. So I disagree to the poll. I think we're going to get a lot of disagreement. In the poll, I already see a lot of people thinking it's crazy to think that. Check back in with me. We do forget. I understand this is the NFL. I understand it's different, but it is now, he did win the Heisman. He did do all those things, and he's a number 2 receiver. Just like another guy I'm going to mention, an honorable mention in a second, is a number 2 receiver who I do think could also be top 10 receivers. So we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah, I just completely have to disagree. I don't know how he can even be in consideration for the top 10 when there's a bunch of different talents in the NFL and just a lot of competition at the wide receiver position we see today. I mean, there's teams like, for example, the Bengals, they got a great receiver core, but as a wide receiver too, it's very hard. I actually do have one of the wide receiver 2s making my top 10, but as a wide receiver 2, it's very hard to be a top 10 receiver in the league.
How about we phrase it this way for a second? Like, do they have the best core in the league? Because to me, like, you debate 2 teams. It's either them or really Cincinnati as one of those as the top.
Okay, we can debate this. I'm completely going to say that the Bengals have a better core, wide receiver core.
I think I can't hate that opinion. I think that's probably the worldwide consensus, I would say, is that people do think that. Number 3 receiver, I'd much rather have Boyd than Watkins.
Sure.
And Jamar Chase, spoiler, I do have ahead of A.J. Brown, so I don't hate that opinion. But hot take compared to a lot of people, I do believe that if I were to start a franchise right now and I had to choose between T. Higgins and Devonta Smith to be my first receiver, I would pick Devonta Smith. But it's very close.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting, but then again, so you have Jamar. You're comparing Jamar and
right.
A.J. Brown. Jamar's better.
Right.
The gap you could argue. Devonta Smith and T. Higgins, I think it's a little bigger gap. But then the gap in wide receiver threes is just tremendous. I mean, you talk about depth at the receivers that you need. Receivers get injured every single season. We talk about DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill. All these guys, they get hurt. You need a good wide receiver three, and to me, it's incomparable to Bengals and
Yeah, all
Eagles.
right. I can get behind that. So we both disagree. I feel like it's a fat disagree. I saw Jake said earlier he agrees. So I guess we'll get into it. Here's a comment right here by Martian. Thank you for tuning in. He says, Amon-Ra, McLaurin, and Garrett Wilson greater than Smitty. Fun you say that. Literally every single person you just named I have in my honorable mention. So to me, they're like pretty much on the same tier. And it's hard for me to say that they are better. Right. McLaurin, I would think, and no, sorry. All right, let's just get into it because I'm all over the place right now. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
All right. Ralph, could we share the screen real quick? All right, so here we go. Yours, we'll start 10-1. You go first. Who you got?
All right, so
should we make sure it's up? Yep. All right, we're good.
All right, so for my I had a couple honorable mentions. Garrett Wilson, obviously great rookie year. Definitely going to be improving this next year with Aaron Rodgers, but I just couldn't put him in my top 10 after only one season of production. DK Metcalf has been in the game for a little bit. Definitely produces at the wide receiver, but there's a lot of competition in that wide receiver room in Seattle right now with Smith and Jigba and with Tyler Lockett. Even Noah Fant, you could argue, is competing for carries. So he missed my list. And then Amari Cooper also missed my list. I'm a very big fan of Amari Cooper. I really like what he does in the league. Just a great elite route runner and can do tremendous things, yards after catch. So it'll be interesting to see what Amari Cooper does with Deshaun Watson this year after Watson returned last year and didn't have the greatest production. But yeah, those were my three honorable mentions.
I'll throw mine before. I feel like it's a better way to do it.
No,
I also have Garrett Wilson being an honorable mention. I think he's a guy at the end of the day could jump to like be number 5 on this list at the end of the year. Like he has crazy potential. It's just hard. I actually am huge on him in fantasy this year, by the way. I'm very excited to see what he can do. Jalen Waddle, who I have like tiered literally dead even with Devonta Smith in terms of talent, value, and how I rank them in the league. I think that they're literally like dead even tied with each other right now. And so, yeah, I have him as an honorable mention. Devonta Smith as an honorable mention. Terry McLaurin. Now, he's a guy where you go towards like the Madden rankings, and they do this every year. He's so high, and he's ridiculously high. And when I look at that, I have a hard time. And it's not all his fault because that's where it's kind of unfair. Give him a quarterback and maybe we can see how good he really is. So I'm not going to shit on him, but I can't with the production he's had. I get it. It's unfair, but I have such a problem putting him ahead of any one of these guys I have in my top 10 just for that reason.
That's fair.
And DeAndre Hopkins, another honorable mention. Need to see a season out of him again for me to put him in this top 10. But if I do, then
definitely he missed my list too. I mean, he was a little bit forgotten about, but at the same time, he deserves to be forgotten about after his lack of production and obviously injury troubles, as I mentioned earlier. This wide receiver position, you got to stay healthy for these games. Granted, without further ado, I'll get into it.
All right, let's go.
So my number 10 is Amon-Ra St. Brown. After this second year, he had 106 receptions, just under 1,200 yards, and then 6 touchdowns. He's definitely going to need to produce more in the touchdown department. Obviously, this receiver room that you talk about in Detroit with Jameson Williams obviously being suspended 6 games. They also brought over Marvin Jones, who was with them for a little bit before he went to the Jaguars, and then obviously, this backfield is going to demand a lot of receptions with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is a guy that caught a lot of balls and is going to keep on going this year and is going to reach a whole nother level. I believe I mentioned earlier in our previous show when we ranked top 10 quarterbacks, I had Jared Goff in my top 10. I think they're going to be a top 5 duo with quarterback to receiver. When you talk about like Mahomes and Kelsey, I think they will be top 5 together in production. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is very elusive. He's speedy. He's go with the ball, and I just think he's the 10th receiver. Yeah.
I also have him at 10, and I won't touch on it too much. I'll just say this: like we talked about it earlier, like with running backs, and I said like for me, if you want to be ranked on a top 10 list in your position, you have to separate yourself in some aspect of the game compared to your peers. Technically, he separates himself is that I don't know if there's a better slot guy in the league than him. Like he is elite and in the slot. He's probably the best slot receiver right now on the top of my head. Maybe there's another one, but he is elite in that spot. And I get it. You had Jared Goff in your top 10. I didn't. Yeah. I think we could both agree he's not a special talent.
No, he just made my top 10.
Right. So if he's going out putting up these numbers, and I get it, they have a good offensive line, that helps, and they have comparable pieces around him. But he's the guy on that team. Like he's A1 on that team. And I'm again another guy I'm excited to see this year, but he gives me something in the slot that other guys don't. So I have him that high. So let's go to number 9 now.
Number 9, your boy, A.J. Brown.
Wow.
88 receptions, just under 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts used A.J. Brown a whole lot last season, and respectively. I mean, he did numbers ahead of what he did in Tennessee than with what he did last year in Philadelphia. He's a very big, strong receiver that you can throw it up. He's going to go get it. He's still got some speed too. I mean, he's a big, bulky guy, and he can still move. I'm interested to see what he can do, but I just have receivers that I personally think are better than him ahead of him. So, yeah, A.J. Brown is my number 9 receiver.
All right, at my number 9, I got CeeDee Lamb. Here's another guy that honestly he's another slot guy. He's very productive in the slot. And, again, another guy who's playing with not the greatest talent in the world type quarterback. And that excites me to put him higher as much as I hate doing it. I hate the team he plays for. We all do. But it's hard to put him lower. But it's also hard to put him higher. I couldn't do it. And he's another guy. If he plays with a Jalen Hurts, a Mahomes, Burrow, one of these top Josh Allen kind of guys, I mean, he could be way higher. You never know.
100%.
You never know.
There's definitely Dak fucking sets him back.
Yeah.
All right, my number 8 is a guy that you mentioned as actually one of your honorable mentions, Jalen Waddle. 75 receptions, just under 1,400 yards, 8 touchdowns. See, now it's hard when I was doing this to put Jalen Waddle in my top 10. But after seeing his numbers and just seeing what the impact he makes on this offense, I mean, him and Tyreek Hill as a wide receiver duo is very scary with the speed they have, with how Tua didn't play that much last year, but how the quarterback distributes the ball to the two of them. It's incredible. But Jalen Waddle strives with the ball in his hands. He's another great slot receiver that can put up numbers for you. He can get down the field quickly. I'm excited to see what this Miami offense can do. I definitely think if Tua stays healthy and if he uses Waddle and Hill like he should, they're a team that could win the AFC East in a very competitive division this year.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Martian's comment. I think Waddle ahead of AJ is crazy, but we'll get into that in a second. I do appreciate the comment and keep giving your thoughts as we go along. My number 8, I kind of was shocked I had him this low, but I didn't want to put him ahead of anyone else ahead of him. So I have Debo, and here's another guy where what do you do for me that sets yourself ahead of everyone else? He is a borderline running back. Mm-hmm. He returns punts, and he's one of the harder receivers to bring to the ground in the league.
Sure.
So it's hard for me to put him any higher because of the guys I have ahead of him. But again, I do have him ahead of CeeDee and St. Brown for right now. And here's another guy. He plays with Kittle. He plays with McCaffrey, Ayuk, and all these other guys. But here's another guy that if he was with a talent like again, Hurts, Mahomes, all these other guys that I just said.
Sure.
Who the hell knows? Like, we don't know what he would be
He'd
like.
be a top 3 talent, but that's also why I didn't put him in my top 10 is because A, the inconsistency is in quarterback plays a whole lot of difference, and B, when you're talking about, like you said, the competition he has for competing with targets with Kittle, IU, McCaffrey, Jawan Jennings even deserves some targets in as the number 3 receiver. It's just hard for me to put him in the top 10. Obviously he's very talented, and he's obviously we can see his speed both out of the backfield and at wide out. But it was very hard for me to leave him out of my top 10, but I did.
Right. Okay. So all right, let's go into your number 8 now. That's 7. Sorry.
7. CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb. It was hard for me to put him this high, but you talk about a guy with a whole lot of talent. He has it, and with Cooks and Gallup, who knows? We might see a decrease in production from him. I think we will probably see an increase in production with the lack of tight end play that they have. You obviously have Dallas has a tight end heavy offense with they had Witten and they got rid of Schultz now. Obviously, they got Hendershot and Jake Ferguson at the tight end. Their O-line is pretty consistent with being good. The two-headed tandem of Tony Pollard and Zeke is no longer. So it'll be interesting. CD is going to be the head part of this offense, whether you want to admit it or not. Some people are going to argue it's going to be Tony Pollard. Right. It needs to be CD. He needs to elevate his game and definitely be a top 10 receiver in production, maybe even top 5, if he wants to give this Cowboys offense and this Cowboys team a chance at making the playoffs and a chance at making a run. But, yeah, CeeDee Lamb, obviously, very, very good talent, so I have him at 7.
Right. We've talked about this before. Like, I think we both expect Dallas to not be as good as people, like, claim they will be. And I feel like we might agree or disagree in terms of the reasoning for it. My reasoning, and I've said it pretty much every episode we've had.
The play calling, you're absolutely right.
The play calling. And I think CD is overcoming that. And I believe that I'm blanking on his name, the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. I believe he was calling plays previous years, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Right. We've said this a million times before. Mike McCarthy was in Green Bay last time he called plays. He left.
Yeah.
What happened when he left was the new play caller goes in there, pretty much the same roster in terms of offensively. It was pretty much the same.
Sure.
Aaron Rodgers then wins back-to-back MVPs.
Yeah.
So it's questionable, and it's something that he might have to overcome himself yet again. But, we'll be rooting against him all year, just like I'm sure a lot of you guys will be too. All right, so let's go into my next guy. I have Cooper Kupp at 7. And it's low. I get it. It's low. I'll praise him for a little bit. 2 years ago, we're talking dominance, like absolute full-fledged
Super Bowl run. It was
dominance. He
ridiculous.
Was really good.
Yeah.
It's just for me, and it's kind of a weak argument, and I get that. But to me, it's a health thing. He's got to stay healthy, and I don't know. I just got to see it again. And again, like these things are very fluid. They could change week to week almost in terms of how we do this. And it's also cool that once he got a quarterback, he took off. Like, wow. Like, Jared Goff left, Matt Stafford goes in, and he takes off. Love to see that for him in his career. And he won the Super Bowl MVP that year, right? Didn't he? Yeah, I think he did.
I don't know if it was him or Donald's, but
I'm
not sure.
I'm blanking on that, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, dominant. But I just got to see it again for him. And it's hard. I sit up here, I say he's the 7th best. And it sounds horrible, and it sounds like I'm hating, but I couldn't have him ahead of anyone I have ranked ahead of him just because they did more for me this past year.
Sure.
So that's, to me, what separated that.
All right. My number 6 is who you just mentioned, Cooper Kupp. I originally had him at 3, and then thinking about it, it's going to be interesting to see how he returns. Obviously, he had the season-ending ACL injury this past year and then also got hurt in training camp this year. It'll be interesting to see what his production is. Obviously, there's not much competition there with competing for targets. He's a great guy. Just loves raking up catches. He'll have 10 to 12 catches a game. It's ridiculous. It'll be interesting to see if he can find the end zone a lot. But yeah, it's hard for Cooper Kupp to exceed what he was on that Super Bowl team, especially after returning from injury and especially with the lack of talent around him. I mean, Matt Stafford, I personally think, is on the decline. We're going to agree to disagree on that. Tyler Higbee, I mean, he's not much. Their wide receiver 2 and 3, I think their wide receiver 2 is Ben Jefferson, and I couldn't even name their wide receiver 3. And then Cam Akers, I personally am not the biggest fan of. So all the eyes on the defense are going to be drawn to Cooper Kupp. Let's see what he can do. Let's see if he can return to that Super Bowl talent. But to me, I couldn't put him higher than 6, so he's my number 6.
Yeah, I think we both kind of agree in that. Placement's a bit different, but I think overall we agree. My 6 is going to be Diggs, and this is very low. I get it. I feel like a lot of lists have him at top 5 pretty much 95% of the time. I think he could be a top 5 talent. I think he was the majority of his career, but I think this past year changed a little bit. I have a guy that is ranked ahead of him, and I'll get into him in just 1 second. But Diggs is unbelievable. He elevated Josh Allen's career. I think we kind of brushed that over when earlier in the offseason, they had that whole he was skipping practice and what was going on and his value there. I feel like we still don't really know what the hell is going on with that, but his value, he should be valued as highly as, any receiver in the league to their respective team because Josh Allen's career took off once he was on the team. So he has a ton of value to him and his team. It's not a shot at him. I love him. I pretty much feel like he's on my fantasy team every year. So not a shot at him at all. He's done great. So just not top 5 for me in terms of these guys being ahead of him.
All righty. My 5, Devonta Adams.
Wow.
100 receptions, just over 1,500 yards, and led the receivers in touchdowns with 14. It'll be interesting to see what Devonta Adams can do with Jimmy Garoppolo, or maybe even we might see a rookie at quarterback for the Raiders at some point this season. Who the hell knows? But Devonta Adams has been doing this thing for a while where he just attracts the ball. He's a ball magnet. I mean, he had some competition in Green Bay. He had minimal competition last year on the Raiders. I think he could potentially be moved at the deadline. We'll see. Would be interesting to see if he could go to a championship contender. But to me, you need a quarterback, and that's what these top 5 guys have, and that's why they can produce. You need a quarterback that's going to provide you with consistency. Jimmy Garoppolo, we've seen it before. He's one of, if not the most inconsistent quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And I just don't think he's going to be able to elevate Devonta Adams' game as much as Aaron Rodgers would, or a top 5, top 10 talent quarterback that we talk about could. So, yeah, I have Devonta Adams at my number 5.
Yeah, shout out Jeb in the comments, putting that out there. We're not going to show our cards because we have a big day on Wednesday night, A2D fantasy draft. All the boys will be live drafting. We have our own team. Definitely tune in for that. But I'd say just feel out the draft board, my guy. I don't want to tell you what to do or what not to do. Whatever's available, I guess.
8th pick.
Best player available, I feel like mainly the right thing to do.
In a 10-man, I'd probably go like 8th pick. I'd probably shoot for like Bijan and then Diggs on the wraparound.
Right, but if the 2 best guys, if someone falls, you gotta.
Oh yeah, no, there's gonna be guys.
Again, we're not showing our cards. We got a big day on Wednesday. We're preparing. We're ready for it. Tom's comment also, it kind of alludes to what I said earlier about him potentially being a top 10 receiver later on. Again, it's fluid. This shit can change, and I think a lot of people forget 100%. That he was a Heisman candidate. Forget Heisman candidate. He won the damn thing. And he is really, 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 really good. He was supposed to be really good. And he's the number 2 guy on the team playing with the top 10, arguably top 5 receiver in the NFL right now. So we'll see. And I think that opinion is very valid. And to all my bettors out there, we have a betting show on the network. Definitely go check it out. But I believe Devonta's over for yards right now. Is about like 960,
975
something like that.
there.
975 area. Hammer the over. As long as he's healthy, you can absolutely book that's going to be over. You have guys like Slay in practice saying that who looks like the best player in training camp right now. Smitty, like everyone's saying that. So I'm very, very excited to see what he could do. And who knows, maybe in a year or two, maybe he's a top 10 guy. You never know. But
no, going off of Tom's comment, definitely like these lists are only like preseason. They what do you call it? These lists will change week by week, day by day. I mean, this receiver room, the receiver position that we have in the NFL right now is one of, if not the most competitive position in the NFL right now.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. All right, so what are we at right now?
Number
We're at
5.
All right, here we go. This is where all the debate comes in. Bias me. I got AJ. And when I look at this, again, I'm a Philly guy. So when I look at this, I say to myself, like, he took us completely over the top. Yes, we got guys like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Yes, Jalen Hurts took another step. There's no doubt about that. Yes, we had health. We had all these things. There's no doubt about that. And one of the better defenses in the league. All those things help. There's no doubt. But what made us dominant, what made us different, and what made us a top 2 team the entire year from beginning to end, to me, more than any of those things, was that we had this big-ass guy that it did not matter. If he was in single coverage, and this is what I talk about with him when it comes to what does he give me compared to everyone else. I'm not sure in terms of one-on-one, jump ball, in the red zone, 50-50, wherever it is. Like, that meme was like, fucking he up there somewhere. Like, I don't know if there's another guy in the league I'd want tracking down a ball than A.J. Brown. He is so freaking hard to keep up with down the field. He's fast as shit. He's strong. He's got a quick first step. And he tracks the ball as good as anybody in the league. Tennessee game, the Pittsburgh game, the Super Bowl, the long touchdown he caught, I believe that was in the first quarter. Just ridiculous stuff. And I think he's what really took us over the top. Like, when we go back for last offseason, we drafted Jordan Davis. That was exciting. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That was exciting. Hassan Reddick. That was exciting. All those things were exciting. When Eagle fans really were like, holy shit, we could be really good, was when on draft night we traded for this guy and we were like, holy shit, we have like a top of the line premier wide receiving group that we've never. This is the best receiving core in franchise history. I think we can staple that in right now that the franchise has ever had. I think we can staple that in right now. But no doubt I'm a Philly guy. A little bit some bias there. You could definitely have Diggs ahead of him. I don't hate that at all. But I think he's got to be up there around that area for sure.
Sure. No, that's a fair argument. My number 4, you actually just mentioned him, Stephon Diggs. Yes, he elevates Josh Allen's game to a whole nother extent. He also was performing well with competition in Minnesota with Thielen. Diggs is a guy that is probably the most premier route runner, in my opinion, in the NFL right now. His slants are crisp. His outs are crisp. His ins are crisp. He just runs crisp-ass routes, and Josh Allen gets it to him. He'll find him in open space. He'll find him bolting down the sideline. He'll find him on a comeback. Diggs has the ability to get open whenever and wherever, and I think he has the potential to be the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL with Josh Allen as his quarterback.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Again, another guy I love in fantasy, but tune in Wednesday night, big fantasy night. We're very excited. Number 4, this is a guy I feel like a lot of guys have at number 3, but I got him at number 4. I love him. Another one of my fantasy lovers, Jamar Chase. He elevated Joe Burrow's game in college. He elevated in the league, no doubt. And here's another guy that elevated a franchise. I get it. Joe Burrow's like the guy when it comes to elevating a franchise, just like I believe Hurts is as well.
Sure.
But when they got Jamar, that was like, we can become a respectable franchise and we could become then to a Super Bowl contender, where I see him and AJ being similar in that respect.
Sure.
But yeah, I no doubt he's a top 4 guy, arguably top 3. No, I have no problem with that, as I feel like you're probably about to do, or at least somewhere around this area.
Yeah. Actually, before we get into our top 3, we're gonna give a quick commercial break to our sponsor, FanUp. Again, FanUp is the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily MLB and NFL contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Use promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points. That's a $50 value. FanUp in the App Store. Get in on FanUp. Great value. Get in on your bets. NFL season right around the corner. Yeah, FanUp is great. So, number 3, I have Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
Now, I did say Tua wasn't the most consistent quarterback in the NFL. Obviously, with his injury struggles, he probably might have CTE right now. We don't know. But Tyreek Hill is an exception to the fact that you need a quarterback, in that if you throw the ball, you could throw it 60 yards and just say, Tyreek Hill, go get it. He's winning that foot race, and he is going to get that ball. He has separation speed like no other. He's done it in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, Tua is nowhere near Patrick Mahomes, but I'm interested to see what Tyreek Hill can do, if he can elevate his game, or if he is just going to stay that top 3 receiver. So, yeah, Tyreek Hill is my number 3 receiver.
Yeah, I also have him as my number 3 receiver, and I'll go further than that. I agree with everything you just said. The other thing is, let's look at, who's one of the worst Eagles picks that we could think of in recent years. There's a lot of them. I think every team has a lot of them, but for me, it's probably Reagor in recent years. And a guy like that does not get picked that high, because even there are so many morons and so many idiots that think that some doofus in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, all the way to the 7th round could possibly be half of, if not the full talent of Tyreek Hill. And all these people are out of their goddamn minds. Like a guy like Reagor. If Tyreek Hill doesn't exist, Reagor is a 6th or 7th round pick. Because there's idiots out there that are like, oh my God, this guy ran like a 4.3. He's going to be the next Tyreek Hill. He's like a 2.3 speed on the field. It is ridiculous. Like you said, you could throw him the ball at any distance. He can go all the way. So yeah, no doubt. He changed your football team more than a lot of these receivers. I have him at number 3.
All right, you had him at 4. I have Jamar Chase as my number 2 receiver. 87 receptions, 1,046 receiving yards, and 9 touchdowns. Obviously, not the most. He competes with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and they brought in Irv Smith. Joe Mixon is probably going to get some receiving upside this year with Samaje Perine gone. I think it's Chase Brown, rookie out of Illinois, is their running back too. But Jamar Chase, with the competition that he has, he still is able to show the talent he has and the skill and just the receiving upside. Obviously, if T. Higgins, if Tyler Boyd weren't there, if they had some bummy-ass wide receiver 2 and 3, his game would be nowhere near anybody else's. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow obviously have the connection from college and now transferring it to the NFL. It's pretty exciting to see. Joe Burrow, like Luke said, one of my favorite quarterbacks besides my boy Daniel Jones. But yeah, it's gonna be exciting to see what Jamar Chase can do if he can, maybe get to 1,300 yards, 1,500 yards. It'll be interesting. But Jamar Chase, my number 2.
Yeah, Jermaine says top 2 is Jefferson and Hill. I don't hate that at all.
It's interesting.
That's a pretty good tab too. I like that. For me, I got my number 2 is a guy that you had all the way down at 6. I got Devonta Adams at 2. This guy is just so fucking smooth. And I understand he had the down year last year. He had, some health issues and things like that. Yeah, he had just some health issues or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't think in terms of stats, he's not going to put up these numbers with Jimmy Garoppolo. But in terms of top 2 talent, I think he's there. And he's just smooth as hell. One of the better 1v1 receivers in the league. Remember when he played with Rodgers? I get it, it's Rodgers and all these things. it was like that slant in the red zone was just one of the more unguardable plays in the entire league. Like that and like a Derrick Henry 3rd and goal was just like
him and Rodgers are like a better duo than PB&J.
They unbelievable stuff. Yeah, I might have to agree with you on that one. So I got Devonta too. Definitely could see why Tyree could be higher. I don't hate that opinion at all, but I got him at 2, and I think we have the same guy at 1.
Yup, Justin Jefferson, gritty all around the room. I might do it after this, but yeah, Justin Jefferson. There's just no there's guys that are strides away from him, but he's gonna dominate this receiving crew for I think a good 3 more years. Very young. Obviously, they traded this pick that they drafted Jefferson for to Stephon Diggs. Both 2 receivers that are just very good, can thrive with the ball, thrive without the ball, love to get open. But yeah, Justin Jefferson led the league in receiving yards with just over 1,800, which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think he has the potential to even get 2K. I mean, you talk about KJ Osborne and Jordan Addison won't demand too many targets. TJ Hawkinson, sure. We'll get into tight ends in the next coming weeks, but Justin Jefferson is just strides away from this receiving group, and I'm interested to see what he can do with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, not a top 10 quarterback talent, in my opinion, but when you pair him with a top 10, with the number 1 receiver in Justin Jefferson, it elevates Kirk Cousins' games a whole lot.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm not going to disagree with anything you said there. We both have him at 1. And some personal shit to say with this. He should be an Eagle more than anyone in the entire league. Like, we just talked about him, Rager. What a fucking joke, by the way. That another guy, like someone could possibly say that Rager could be as good as Tyreek Hill or 50% of Tyreek Hill.
Dude, if you do that, you got to, go to rehab.
There is nobody,
serious
just
drugs.
because, and this is shout out, if you're an NFL GM and an NFL scout and you're somehow watching this, let me clue you in. If someone runs a 4.3 in the combine, that by no means makes him Tyreek Hill. That doesn't make him 50% of Tyreek Hill. That doesn't make him 20%. That doesn't make him an inch of Tyreek Hill. He ain't shit. You shouldn't draft somebody because they ran a 4.3. Let's look at all these guys like Rager and fucking Ruggs. Like, what the
failures.
Yeah, absolute failures.
However, a comparison to Tyreek Hill, my boy Jalen Hyatt, we'll get into NFL preseason in a little bit, but holy shit.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, no doubt. All right. Speaking of that, all right, let us know. Clip that list if you can, and let us know what you think of our list. We will now get into
our college football predictions, mainly playoff. I have a couple of other predictions, but without further ado, we'll get into our college football playoff. A lot of division realignment conference realignment we've been seeing recently. The Big Ten is now like the Big 20. What the hell is happening to the Pac-12? It's going to be interesting in the next coming years with how this conference realignment goes and how the playoff realignment goes. I think this is the last year of the 4-team college football playoff. It expands to 12. Yeah. It'll be interesting with the 12-team playoff. I think it's going to be a whole lot better, a whole lot more interesting because these teams in college football, sure, you have a conference like the Big Ten with Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, 3 powerhouses. You might only have one of them getting into the college football playoff, and they might be better than a team out of the SEC or the ACC. Or it's interesting to see what this college football realignment and what the college football playoff is to come.
Yeah.
If getting to Martian's comment,
I love this question. Martian, you're great with the comments. Keep commenting. No, and I love Smitty. I love him to death. But you know who we probably would have had? We probably would have traded up because we forget. In that year, we traded back to get an extra first, and then we traded back up because we were afraid the Giants were going to take Devonta. That's what we did. Mm-hmm. So let's go back for a second. If we had Justin Jefferson, who's currently right now probably unanimously the best receiver in the league, at least for us, we both agree on that.
Without a doubt.
You know who the Eagles could potentially have on the team with Justin Jefferson? arguably the best defensive player in the entire league right now. They have
Sauce.
they debatably have the best offensive and defensive players in the entire league. Micah
Oh,
Parsons.
dude, that would be
Yeah,
disgusting.
so absolutely not. I love the question. I love the thought, but I'm not saying it would have happened because maybe they wouldn't have traded down originally. Maybe they would have been like, we're in love with Micah. Maybe they wouldn't have the right, here we go. Yeah, we both agree on that one, Micah, no doubt. But maybe they wouldn't have had the ammo to go back up. We don't really know the answer to that. But yeah, how unreal would that would have been? So Howie, I love you. You made a lot of great decisions that have made us Super Bowl contenders the last 10 years, but that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So our college football playoff, I don't really have numbers 1 to 4. But I do have 4 teams that I think will make this college football playoff. Going to be very interesting college football this year. We're just under 2 weeks away. Very excited for our Penn State home opener against West Virginia. Hopefully smoke them out of Beaver Stadium and party all night long. But my 4 teams to make the college football playoff are as follows. LSU, Jaden McDaniels, very high on him as a quarterback. Not much returning talent in the SEC as far as quarterbacks except him. I'm interested to see how this LSU team performs. But, yeah, so one of my 4 is LSU. I have Georgia, just a powerhouse. They're going to keep on repeating, keep on returning. Interested to see what they can do. I actually have our boys, no bias. I got Penn State making the college football playoff. I think with this defense that we have with Drew Allar, which I'll get to in a little bit, Nick Singleton, K-Tron Allen, a great running back tandem, great O-line, great defense, like I said. Yeah, this team's going to be something to watch, I think, in the Big Ten. I think if we split against Michigan and Ohio State and then go on to win the Big Ten championship, we're making the playoff. We're going dancing. My 4th team is USC. Caleb Williams, arguably, or not arguably, unanimously probably going to be the first pick in the NFL draft this upcoming years. It'll be interesting to see how Caleb can improve his draft stock, if he can improve it anymore. I mean, like I said, he's unanimously number 1. But yeah, so my 4, like I just said, LSU, Georgia, Penn State, and USC. Luke, what do you got?
Yeah, we kind of agree on a lot more than I believed. I thought I was going to bring out a hot take with the LSU thing. I agree. We both don't have Bama in our top 4. Maybe with new era college football, maybe they're no longer the top dogs. Yeah, I'm not a hater, but I just believe that these 2 programs are better. I appreciate the hater. I have Georgia making it as well. Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels, fucking NBA. Jaden Daniels, I also believe is a stud, potential Heisman candidate. I have him up there. I loved him back in his days at Arizona State, I believe he was at, correct, I think. He was a beast there, carried that program for a while with Herm Edwards and all those guys. But USC is a new team I have making it. I have bias. I think Caleb Williams, like 20 years from now, we're going to be like, who are the greatest quarterbacks ever? We're going to be saying Mahomes, and we're going to be saying Caleb Williams. This guy is fucking unbelievable. I would tank for him in 2 fucking seconds. Not the Eagles, but
that's crazy.
I think this guy is unbelievable. Defensively, there's always worries with Lincoln Riley team, so we'll see. I'm no doubt Caleb Williams fan club fanboy guy. Bias, no doubt.
You want to sleep with him?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I got him for sure. USC in my top 4, and I have Michigan in my top 4 as well. They brought back a ton of talent. They did lose a first-round pick, no doubt. Mozzie Smith, fuck him. He's a Dallas Cowboy now. But, yeah, I have them in my top 4, and I don't have Penn State in my top 4. And it has literally nothing to do with on-field talent. Nothing. They should make the playoff. If we're looking at this right now, they should be better than LSU, maybe, in terms of talent, and they probably should be better than USC, even with Caleb Williams on the field. The reason they won't be is because of their overrated is an understatement. This guy is getting paid $100 million to be a head coach, James Franklin. If he's getting paid $100, I should be getting paid at least $1 million to stand up there, having a good time, and fucking losing my damn voice. Because this guy doesn't deserve a cent of that. It is unbelievable. He should be lucky. He should coach like exactly where he came from, like a Vanderbilt. He has no right, none at all to be running a Penn State program. The reason I say that, he can run a program. He's good at recruiting, clearly. He's a good recruiter. And seems to – I don't feel like Penn State's really big in the press in terms of this shit's happening, this shit's going on, and he runs a good program.
He keeps it under the rug, but I'll agree. James Franklin, great recruiter.
He's the liability.
The problem is he has the mantra, he has the rah-rah, he gets the players amped up. The problem is he doesn't bring it to the field. The play calling is horrible in my opinion. The defense we run, it's interesting.
I really like the defense, and they have
just the
Manny
offensive
Diaz. Manny Diaz pretty much takes control of that stuff. It's mainly the decision making for me. Like, it's 4th and 1.
And we're running wishbone.
Yeah, we're the only team in the fucking world doing that. And if you watch a lick of film against us, you know that's what we're gonna do. We've done it 20 times against a million teams. It's not like we're in high school anymore. Everyone's got tape. Everyone's got film. They see that shit. You're not fooling anybody. Like the fake punt things and all this stuff, like the little things that change the course of a game. And when you talk, this is where college is different than NFL. Like, it could be one play, literally one play. If that one play is against Michigan, if that one play is against Ohio State, that's a season play. That play changes the impact of your entire season. Mm-hmm. And when you go, let's go across this list. You got Harbaugh at Michigan, Kirby Smart at Georgia, the guy from Notre Dame, I'm blanking on his name, now at LSU. I'm totally blanking on his name. And USC's got Lincoln Riley. All these guys are up here, high-level coaches that have made it here before. I have absolutely negative, not a bit of faith in the world that in a big game this guy can call the proper plays, make the right decisions to lead us to a win. I just don't. Until I see it, I hope he proves me wrong. But until I see it, great. And I think that we're a Rose Bowl team as far as he's coaching. And a lot of people love it. A lot of people are obsessed with it. But I ain't one of those people. Fuck that. You're a Big Ten school. You're one of the better recruiting schools in the entire country. I want to be one of those teams in the playoff. That's what I want. I'm tired of these fucking Rose Bowls. I get it. They're cool and all. Fuck that. I'm tired of them.
Let's go dancing.
Yeah, let's go dancing. We're done with this era of Rose Bowl football. I'm tired of it now.
Alrighty. My two other predictions, very bold. LSU takes the SEC.
I don't hate it.
They beat out Georgia. They beat out Tennessee. They beat out Bama.
I don't hate it.
LSU has the potential, like we mentioned, Jaden Daniels, great quarterback, great surrounding cast. LSU is a powerhouse for receivers. I mean, we talk about Jefferson, Chase, Beckham. They got plenty of receivers coming out of there, and I guarantee they got a whole lot more that we don't know about that we're about to find out about. But, yeah, LSU is going to take the SEC, in my opinion, and there might be a little bias in this one. Luke laughed at me before the show. Drew Allar, Heisman candidate, wins it. It'll be interesting. Like we said, James Franklin's decision-making, play calling on the offensive side of the ball, it's hard to watch sometimes. I get very annoyed in the stands, but in the end of it, I think Drew Allar has what it to be the Heisman quarterback. Just a great. He's had comparisons to Josh Allen with his stature. Great arm. Not much rushing upside, but obviously Franklin loves to run with his quarterbacks. We saw it with Clifford. We saw it with McSorley, Hackenberg a little bit. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Drew Allar is developed as a quarterback this year. But yeah, Drew Allar wins the Heisman. A little bit of bias, but yeah.
I love Allar, but as long as that guy's on the sideline, I think there's absolutely no shot of that happening. It's nothing to do with him. But all right, let's get into some baseball now. Do you want to go on your Mets first? Your little Mets rant?
Yeah, not much to rant about, honestly. We took 2 of 3 against the Pirates. I mean, the Pirates are a poverty franchise. They'll be a poverty franchise for a little bit more. No disrespect to my boy Kutch. Love watching Kutch play. Brian Reynolds pretty good. Ke'Bryan Hayes, O'Neal Cruz. That's about it. That's all they really got. But took 2 out of 3, and then we took the first 3, and we're down 3-2 right now. We took the first 3 against the Cardinals. We're down 3-2 right now. To them, bottom of the 5th. Alonso's starting to hit, starting to show that maybe he's worth a big contract. Are we going to give him $30 million a year? I don't know. I hope so. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to bring him back. If you're going to have a guy that's a first baseman that's going to hit 40 home runs, it's pretty hard to do that. It's pretty hard to replicate that. As sure, you can have a defensive first baseman. He's not going to do the same thing as what Alonso does. It's like I said, this team is falling down the gutter real quick. More so looking ahead at this offseason. Could we be seeing a potential trade? Could we be seeing a potential big signing? It'll be interesting. Mets season all but over. But yeah, that's my little Mets rant. Luke, what do you got with the Phils?
Yeah, pretty interesting. When we first did the whole bio, said that they were struggling, and then the bats kind of came out in the 8th inning last night. Like I think it was like 11 runs or some shit, like some crazy.
They were down
3-0.
3-0, and they scored 11.
Yeah,
it
crazy.
Was
all right, so it's baseball, so there's going to be a week where we sit up here and we're like, wow, where the fuck were the Phillies this week? What happened? And then there's going to be another week like, holy shit, they can't, they're on fire or whatever. It feels like we do this every week, but I'm kind of on par where we are right now. I believe that given pitching and the stacked roster, even though Ranger Suarez is on IL, shouldn't be all too concerning. Definitely should be back for the playoffs, it seems. But when you look at pitching, depth and hitting and all these things, I think the main thing with them, and I think this is a thing this year more than other years, a lot of teams are fighting on, is consistency. If they can play consistently at their best, and that's a big if, and that's pretty much every team across the entire league, I think that at their best, they are the second best team in the NL. Where does that take them? I don't think they're beating Atlanta this year in the playoffs. I'm sorry. I just don't. I think they're deeper and they're more experienced than they were last year. And the same could be said about the Phillies. I hear that, no doubt. And it's baseball, so you never really know. But in terms of a prediction, I'm not going to sit up here and predict that the Phillies are going to beat Atlanta in a playoff series. Wow. That's not going to happen.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. You're not going to get me to do that. But I think when you look at the Phillies, I think September is a huge month. I'm looking at it right now. They go at Milwaukee for a series. They go at San Diego. I get it that they're not all great, but they're still a tough team to beat, especially on the road. West Coast trip, no doubt. And then you get Miami at home, solid team. Then you got the series against the Braves, your road trip against St. Louis, road trip against Atlanta, and then you pretty much finish the season out against the Mets and Pirates. It is what it is. But a lot of road trips in there and a lot of big games against your competition in terms of who you're seeing in the wild card. And the Braves, those could be huge in terms of, can you go around 500 against them? If you can go around 500 against the Braves between the home and road series, and then kind of beat the teams you should beat to a certain point, you sit 3.5 up right now. Who knows? I think they're in a really good spot as the number one wild card team. The Dodgers is the second best team. Again, that's consistency. They've clearly been the more consistent team this year than Philly has. That's the one knock on Philly
right now is incredible. I think they've won they're 11-2 in their past 13. You talk about a team that was iffy with their moves at the deadline. Right. Rosario wasn't performing that well in Cleveland. Neither was Hernandez in Boston. Neither was Joe Kelly and Lance Lynn. I looked at a stat. These guys are miles ahead of what they what they did in their past teams and how they're improving on the Dodgers. I'm not going to say it's because they're on the Dodgers now, but this team, I agree. I think the Braves and the Dodgers are definitely the two best in the National League. Sure, you could put an argument for the Phillies. No hate on that, but I don't think the Phillies are better than the Dodgers. I think they take them in a 7-game series.
Yeah, and that's like a consistency thing for me. It seems, again, every week we go on here, we talk about having the Phillies having a great week. Holy shit! Like where the bats are unstoppable, and then it's like, well, what's going on with Nola? What's going on with the top 5 in the batting order? What the hell's going? Why can't we hit the ball? So it's a consistency thing, and the reason I say that the key term is at their best, because that to me is everything. If they can reach that like they did last year, which is a big if. There's no doubt about that. It's a giant if. But it happened last year, so it forces me to say if, because it's definitely possible. They have a guy like Wheeler suiting up to start a playoff game. They have a guy like Nola suiting up to start a playoff game. They have a guy in Lorenzen they just got. Maybe he might not even start a playoff game. A lot of people are debating that. Who knows? He hasn't done that in his career. And then Ranger Suarez, who has history in doing it. Where's Taijuan Walker in this whole thing? He's leading the entire league in wins. Like, where's he at in this rotation in terms of the playoffs? So when you look at it like that, it's hard to go look at a series and be like, well, I picked this team to beat the Phillies outside of Atlanta. And that's why if LA played Philly right now, there's bias. There's no doubt about that. I think I would lean slightly towards Philly just because of the depth they have at pitching. And that is huge for me.
That's arguable, though. I think with the playoff experience, you talk about Kershaw. He's been doing it for a while. Sure, you got Lorenzen, you got Nola, you got Wheeler, you got Walker. They have Kershaw, Gonsolin, Lance Lynn, Arias. Sure, these guys have high ERAs. I want to say Arias has a 4.
Nola hasn't been great either. So, yeah.
No, I just think their pitching rotations are very comparable. I wouldn't say I wouldn't could put a gap in between them. I would say what's going to separate those two teams, if they somehow meet up in the playoffs, is going to be their bats, if they can perform.
Right.
The Phillies.
I'm looking at it right now. The Dodgers have 9 more wins than the Phillies do, which is a lot. But we also have to keep in mind the Phillies were god-awful to start the year. And it seems, and we could check in next Monday and be like, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
But right now, it seems Trey Turner's slowly getting it back. And he's not going to be an all-star at this point in the season. Absolutely not. That's not going to happen at any point in the season, I believe. You're definitely not going to get that. But again, we talk about it every week. If he could slow down the errors, slow it down a bit, be a productive defensive shortstop, and bat, it's asking for a lot, no doubt about it, 270, 300.
For the end of the season, I mean, you're asking him to go 1 for 3 every game.
Yeah, essentially.
Because
where he's at right now, yes, because he's batting like 6 or 7 pretty much nightly now. So I would appreciate that for him, no doubt. Yeah, shout out Castellanos, been unbelievable too for the Phillies lately. I mean, this is a common debate. If you want to debate this real quick, and Phillies MVP. Some people think Stott because he has the highest batting average and he's been really, really good all year and kind of a surprise. Right, I think it's Castellanos too. And one, he was an all-star, and I think we have to say expectation. Stott kind of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere because a lot of Phillies fans had hope for him. But if I told you that he was doing what he's doing right now, I think you'd be like, that's not happening yet.
No, I mean, granted, I don't follow too much of the Phillies farm system. I follow somewhat the Mets farm system. But I haven't heard of Bryson Stott before he came to the Phillies organization. Last year, he was showing some signs that maybe he could have a breakout. Right. This year, for you guys, he's been tremendous. But I just don't know how you can't say Castellanos after what he did last year.
I agree. Completely agree.
I don't remember. I don't recall. I'm assuming he got booed a lot, as he should. Yeah. But yeah, this team, the Phillies team is scary as a Mets fan. I hated Red October last year, and I'm gonna hate it this year if it happens, which it's looking like it's gonna happen. But yeah, no, this Phillies team is coming alive and all their pieces are coming together. But yeah, like you said, getting back to that comment, I think Nick Castellanos unanimously is the Phillies.
And you also look at it in terms of him, like you signed him to a big contract expecting what you're getting now. And I think people are saying stot just because it's like, like no one was expecting this out of him.
No.
And whatever.
Without question.
So I think it's got to be Cassidy. Some people think Bohm too. Shout out to him. He's had a great year, but I don't think it could be him either.
Yeah.
He does lead the team in RBIs, and he's been very good this season, no doubt. But I think Castellanos has delivered just like we all thought he would last year. Now this year, I guess it took a year, but whatever.
Yeah. I'm going to touch on the Giants preseason before we get into the shout out of the week. Obviously preseason, nothing to get too hype about. I've been talking with my grandfather and my father about this game. Some general takeaways. Daniel Jones has the potential to separate himself as a top 10 quarterback and show that he deserved that contract. A lot of slander on the Giants for giving him that big contract. Darren Waller is going to be that red zone target that Daniel Jones wants, that Daniel Jones needs, and will also separate himself in the middle of the field. The defense, it's going to be interesting with this young secondary. They showed Banks and Hawkins on the outside and Adoree Jackson in the slot, and then Pinnock and McKinney over top. Bobby Okereke is going to lead this defense besides Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau, who are defensive line look good. O-line didn't look terrible. Evan Neal finally started to show up. Probably going to do the same thing that Andrew Thomas did. An awful first year and great second year. So looking forward to this season. Just looked, we're 2 weeks away from Thursday, so just about 18 days away till NFL. We can't wait. But yeah, so I'll start off with my shout out of the week. It's actually going off what I just said. Jalen Hyatt. This guy, the Giants were very surprised we got him in the third round. I was very surprised he fell that late. Didn't realize the breakaway speed he had until the tweet that he was faster than Tyreek Hill on an unofficial 40, which who the hell knows? I mean, I can't believe half of what I see on Twitter except the Wander Franco allegations. Saw them all on Twitter and believed them all. Shout out to him. But Jalen Hyatt is going to be a great deep ball threat with this New York Giants offense. I think he has great breakaway speed, and it'll be interesting to see how the Giants use him with the speed he has. So Jalen Hyatt, my shout out of the week.
Quick diss of the week real quick. Colin Cowherd going viral for this horrible fucking list he made. Top 10 like NFL wide receiver quarterback duos, and he left Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown off of the top 10 completely.
That's crazy.
What the fuck are you doing? Clearly, I'm a fan of his work, but that was telling for me. I'm going to stop watching him for a while for that. Like, Jesus Christ. Another just the week real quick. Not going to spend too much time. This is last week. Harden, like, actually fuck off. Like, you're doing all these interviews in Houston, in China. We're two places where people just blow you no matter what you say. Come to Philly and do an interview and get your ass torn up. Do that, please. Actually, come on the pod. That would be fucking great if we had James Harden on the pod.
Harden on this podcast.
I would love to go one-on-one with James Harden. I'm not scared of it at all. Please come on the pod. That would be great. Yeah, so come to a place where people aren't just going to blow you no matter what you say and defend. Let you say whatever you want. Let's get interviewed at a place where, we can see some neutral opinion or something like that. All right. So my shout out of the week, actually, I was going to go with this dog show shit we're watching right now. I mean, this shit's fucking entertaining. It just happened to be on ESPN right now. This shit's actually pretty fucking entertaining, I must say. Just dogs flying around, having a good time. Yeah, so my shout out of the week. I forget what my shout out of the week was going to be. Oh, yeah, Frax. USA basketball just played a game today against Germany. They were down like 16 or something like that. Come all the way back. Anthony Edwards, shout out, getting the win. Great stuff there. Could be a potential name to look out for this NBA season in terms of who's going to take a leap. We shall see if that's him. Maybe elevates Minnesota. Maybe they win a playoff series this year. I'm not going to say they will, but if he's playing like that, who the hell knows? If he's a top all of a sudden 10, 15 talent in the league, which it seems is potentially possible. Maybe not this year, but soon. So yeah, shout out to him. Looks unbelievable. FIBA team undefeated in like the scrimmage, I guess you can call it, the friendlies. And now we get to the real stuff, I believe, on Saturday. So very excited about that.
Yeah. Once again, we want to give our shout out to our sponsor, FanUp. FanUp is the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily MLB contests, MLB and NFL contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Use promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points. That's a $50 value. FanUp in the App Store. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. Obviously, not our normal time. You can catch us Mondays at 10:30. We'll be back next Monday talking probably tight ends and getting even closer to the NFL season. We're looking forward to it. Thank you to everybody that commented, subscribe, tune in to all the A2D radio shows. If you don't like us, you'll like somebody else. And yeah, Luke, any last words?
Yeah, fantasy football draft live Wednesday night, time to be determined. A2D fantasy draft. We're very excited. We're prepped up for it. We can't wait to go kick some ass in that. And shout out to Ralph, as always, producing and
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
We're back in State College. We'll be back together Monday. Thank you.